just finished watching, well, a few days ago, I finished watching Season 2 of Star Wars The Bad Batch. And it's really stuck with me for the last little bit as I've been sort of thinking about it and pondering some of the major themes and motifs. And I just wanted to share a few of my thoughts about the season for some of you like-minded folks who watched it and wanted to discuss it. Leave a comment, let's chat, let's talk if we have some similar interests in that. So if you haven't watched Season 2 of The Bad Batch in its entirety, don't watch this video. There will more than likely be spoilers, because I'm really just going to talk about some things I liked, some things I didn't like, and stuff of that nature. So this season, from the very beginning of it, starts and really exists in the space that is full of the grittiness that the Bad Batch find themselves in. They're living on the run from the Empire, and they're also being controlled and motivated by their own innermost moral convictions, which are always steering them to do right, to help those in need, to protect the lesser, when their own private interests would more so tell them to run, to hide, to stay away from the Empire at all costs. So a few themes that stuck out. I mean, throughout the entire season, one of the major overarching themes is surrounding Hunter and trying to figure out his motivations and priorities and create sort of a long-term plan for his and Omega's safety. He's realizing that he cannot have her living life and growing up on the run. She's still a child. She deserves a stable home. And she doesn't deserve to be constantly in fear of death. So, as a viewer, I love the heroics and adventures that the team finds himself in, but I also can't help but feel like I want Hunter to hang up his helmet and settle down and be safe and really be this father to Omega that he finds himself feeling convicted and drawn to be. So another theme that was very interesting is the small pockets of the rebellion that are beginning to form across the galaxy. Even though we're still, decades away from the events of A New Hope coming to pass, there are still people that don't believe in the Galactic Empire's sinister plans. And likewise, while we see this sort of small-scale development of rebellion throughout the galaxy, we also see it within Crosshair, who up until this point has been primarily an antagonist of the show. By the end of the season, he received some much-needed character redemption and made me, as a viewer, want the Bad Batch to give him a second chance, to invite him back in with open arms, and to get the crew together again. So Crosshair goes from being somebody who you hate to see and you just want them to put an end to him. He finally realizes sort of where his moral compass is pointing him, and he makes moves to go towards redemption, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing for us as viewers, especially in light of losing a crew member. Anyway, we'll get to that, but a theme that was almost, hurtful to watch was the abusive and disturbing mistreatment of the clones in this new rising galactic empire. They sent them to death, they sent them to be experimented on, they constantly mocked them, spoke to them in a lesser way, made them feel belittled like they were worthless, and that kind of speaks to this theme that is, this new empire really makes you as the viewer hate them. They, when I was a kid watching Star Wars, and I've been a Star Wars fan my whole life, I thought the Empire was cool. I mean, Darth Vader, Palpatine, they were cool characters. They were powerful. And even watching the Star Wars prequels, you see Anakin had a lot of, crappy stuff happen in his life that pushed him towards the dark side. And when we look at this show, the Empire doesn't seem like they're trying to fight for peace, doesn't seem like they're trying to fight for stability, and I'm speaking to basically the lower level officers and commanders in the Empire. They really seem like, pieces of crap. They are genuinely terrible, terrible human beings. So that's, sort of a negative. I mean, the whole idea of this galactic war is to see both sides of the story, and in my case, follow the politics and the state of the governments. So anyway, I'm not quite sure what I was trying to get at there, but I'm just saying it's kind of a hard theme to watch, the mistreatment of the clones, after how beloved they were in the greatest cartoon series of all time, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So anyway, there's also a bit of tension within the Bad Batch where Echo wants to double down and fight against the Empire and really rise up sort of as an activist against evil, and Hunter feels more compelled to play things safe, to keep Omega safe, and basically to hide and lay low. So this, of course, leads to the breakup, which really hurt Omega's feelings, where Echo goes off with Captain Rex to work with that Senator Chuchi on Coruscant, who's fighting to prove the Empire's misdoings and how they're dealing with the clone armies. So it sort of makes you choose a side as a viewer. What do you think they should do? Like I said, I sort of side with Hunter when I say, don't be a hero, don't get yourself killed, hide, lay low, start a life with Omega, and keep her safe. So a few moments have stuck out to me throughout Season 2 that I liked. My main thing I liked was the moments involving Coruscant, which I do feel like it's been widely neglected in the newer Star Wars media. It was nice to see the Senate back in action, nice to see Bail Organa, Senator Chuchi fighting for what's right, even though they understand the dangers of going against the Empire. And for me, that's interesting because I do like political fiction. I do like to follow those sorts of ideas in fictional media. So we're not looking at a galaxy where, one senator is going to speak out against the Empire and they're going to be executed right in front of the Senate. This is a political system with rules. There are guidelines in place. They can't just take out anybody that goes against them. They have to politically deal with them. So that's something that I've really enjoyed this season, and I always love to see Coruscant, and it's one of the most exciting planets in Star Wars lore. And another moment that kind of goes hand in hand in that is the moment where Emperor Palpatine, right when the time was right, rises up in the Senate and fixes all the politicians' mistakes and twists the situation to go according to his sinister plan. And I like this because it makes him feel closer to the action as opposed to what he feels like in some other seasons and shows as some sort of far-off evil that's not really a part of this story. But when you're as sinister and as dark as a character as Emperor Palpatine, you always have your hand in the pot. You're always involved in what's going on, and that's why I loved when he came up. That was by far my favorite moment of this season, is when Emperor Palpatine rose up and manipulated the situation for his benefit. And I mean, the only thing that would make that better is if Darth Vader was next to him. Which I do hope we get a cameo at some point of Darth Vader again. I can never get enough of Darth Vader, and I'm not talking about the Darth Vader that they gave us in the shameful Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I'm talking about the real Darth Vader that is scary, powerful, and a menace behind the mask. Something else that stuck out that I liked was Pabu. I found that to be a heartwarming episode where the clones, they settled into this sort of utopia where they were kind of thinking about settling down and continuing their life in hiding on that planet, and they really fit into the community. They loved the people, they loved the food, and in that episode they had to band together to help evacuate the town from an incoming tsunami. So it was nice to see the clones work together to fight an enemy that wasn't the Empire, it wasn't space pirates, it wasn't some animal or creature. It was a natural disaster, not tied to any specific evil, but just sort of the evils of everyday life. Just a regular situation that could happen anytime, anywhere, in any coastal region. It was nice to see that episode, and I liked that, and that's pretty much where filler episodes stopped appealing to me. And there were a lot of them. So some moments I didn't particularly care for in season 2 are... I didn't like the treasure hunting storylines with Fee. I don't really know who she is. I don't care about her. And the episodes that feature her as a main protagonist, I really didn't care for. I didn't care for the racing episode where Sid goes up against Malegi in a race. And she had her droid, I forget his name, Teo, maybe, go up against Malegi's goon, and of course the droid gets destroyed and Tech takes the wheel. And I know that was an important episode for building up Tech's personal agency before they would eventually kill him off later on in the season, which was... I understand that throughout the season they had to make us like Tech more than we did, because, well, how sad could it be? I mean, he was the emotionless, heartless, robotic, smart guy, nerd stereotype of a character in the season, so they had to make him more personal, which they tried to make some sort of a connection, a relationship between him and Fee. Even though it seemed like they were making Hunter have some sort of a connection with Fee. Who exactly wanted to be with Fee, we'll never know, because they abandoned that plot 3/4 through the season. And this is a bit of a hot take, but I didn't particularly care for the huge emphasis on the Dr. Hemlock stuff and the cloning stuff. And I know this is a heavy theme in Star Wars, especially the extended universe, but it's starting to come into the mainstream universe. So I'm going to have to get used to it, but I just find it to be a very heavy theme that didn't really have a lot of build-up. Not in this show, previous shows or movies. So now when we see all these themes of cloning and things like The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch and even the Rise of Skywalker new Star Wars movie, all of a sudden it seems like, well, this cloning sort of came out of nowhere and we're stuck trying to figure out, well, where it fits into the wider Star Wars universe. So overall, just to sum this up, my thoughts are that the season was very good. I loved watching it. I watched it in about, 2 days or something. I basically binge watched the whole thing. And of course I like The Bad Batch more than most of the live action shows. Certainly more than Obi-Wan Kenobi, and probably more than The Mandalorian. It's not as incredible as the Clone Wars show, but it's very fun and intriguing to follow Clone Force 99 in this gritty, scary, and lonely time in the galaxy where everything's in transition. I sort of think about it as, our world at the precipice of World War I, the Great War, or between World War I and World War II, where there was a grittiness throughout society that permeated every person's life, that permeated every institution on Earth. Same goes for this. Every aspect of the galaxy is affected by the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Galactic Empire. So that's why I like the setting of The Bad Batch. I love the world building. I love the wider narrative that's going on. I don't like all the random filler episodes where they go to some random planet to retrieve some random thing for some random reason, or just because Omega said it would be fun or it's the right thing to do or something like that. I want to see more of this political struggle between the Empire and the clones, and even the small pockets of rebellion popping up in the galaxy. Thank you for watching. Give me a subscribe or a like or comment or whatever if you want to discuss this further. I'm always around, always looking for like-minded people. Yeah, I'll see you next time. Lots of interesting stuff coming. We've got a Steam Deck on the way we're going to be talking about on the channel. I'm almost done watching Attack on Titan anime, which I also want to discuss because there's some very powerful themes in that show as well. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about lots of stuff, and I appreciate you giving me your time. Goodbye.